guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called 7 free things in the UK that'll cost you in the US. So, I don't know, like tea. No, tea I'm pretty sure is not even free in the UK. But I can think of I think the number one thing, it's like, I don't know, healthcare. Actually, I don't know if healthcare is absolutely like free in the UK. It's cheaper, definitely. I would expect it to be cheaper than in the US. Although like what kind of like healthcare is, I think all countries are cheaper than in the US. But I don't know if you actually have to pay something. Probably you have to pay, you know, but again, it's like, it's not like a huge amount. But I don't know, I'm wondering, so if you want to save money, that you have to move to the UK. We're gonna find out. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
Have you ever wondered what exactly is free in the supposed land of the free? The stark differences between the United...
Okay, right off the bat, yes, of course. Actually, you made a really great point. I've never asked that myself, but it's kind of true, because you call yourself the land of the free and the brave, yes, but you know, it's also free as in like we're free, but it's like, no, it's the opposite. It's you're free, not as in like, oh, this is actually free, but yes, obviously they mean something else, but it's actually quite funny if you think about it.
States and the United Kingdom, when it comes to access to essential services, might surprise you. Today, viewers will discover 6 crucial things that people in the UK enjoy without paying a penny, while Americans continue to shell out significant amounts of money for the same services. Before we get into it, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates from our channel. What's particularly fascinating is how these differences reflect fundamentally different approaches to social welfare and public services. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why these contrasts matter so much in people's everyday lives. The National Health Service stands as perhaps the most iconic example of a public service that exists free at the point of use in the United Kingdom, but requires payment in the United States. Established in
But is it like absolutely free, or you have to pay something? Or is it just like automatically, it goes like with your taxes and that's it?
1948, the NHS was founded on the principle that healthcare should be accessible to all without direct charges, funded instead through general taxation. This means residents of the UK can visit general practitioners, access hospital care, undergo surgical procedures, receive maternity services, and much more without ever seeing a bill. The contrast with the American healthcare system couldn't...
I wonder, do they have also like private services, or is it all just public? And is it like, is it good? Like, is it a good service? Because sometimes just because it's free, it doesn't mean that it's good. But I think the UK, like, I'm pretty sure should be, like, they should be good at this. But I would love to know the experience of actually that has, you know, that lives there and has actually used, like, the NHS and has actually seen, like, they can tell you, like, yes, no, it's good. Like, it's a good service. Or just because it's free, they had to handle, like, so many people. Maybe like the service is not the best, like maybe they take a long time to actually, you know, to refer you to a physician, or I don't know, you have to go in for like appointments or a specific kind of tests, and does it take you a long time to actually, they can fit you in, or do they like, no, the service is incredible and they'll take you right in? Would love to know.
Be more dramatic. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, more than 27 million Americans lacked health insurance as of 2023, with millions more being underinsured. The average annual premium for employer-sponsored family coverage in the United States reached around $23,000 in 2023. Even those fortunate enough to have insurance typically face co-pays, deductibles, and those notorious surprise bills that can arrive months after treatment. Can you believe that calling an ambulance in America requires a financial calculation while you're potentially struggling to breathe? People literally...
Yeah, that's why a lot of people, which sounds like a little bit of a joke, but it isn't really. A lot of people, like, if they're having like some sort of like medical emergency, like in a public place, or maybe just, you know, on their own homes, they'll be like, they have to calculate, like, I'd rather take an Uber than actually like pay for the ambulance, because you don't know how much it's gonna cost you. So it's like, no, seriously, do not call an ambulance. I'll call an Uber, which sounds crazy, obviously. Like, if you're like, I don't know, I'm having a heart attack, and it's like, you know, you ask for your Uber, like, well, you know, I'm asking for an Uber while having a heart attack. That's insane. But yes, a lot of people, you know, it's sad. It's a sad situation. I'm laughing, but yes, it's a sad situation, but that's the reality for a lot of people.
have to decide whether their emergency is emergency enough to justify the expense. There's a telling story about.
There's also that, of course. You also like, is it like, do I feel like that bad? As in, like, am I willing to actually go to the hospital and actually, you know, like, they're obviously going to be like a huge bill, but you know, you really have to like do the numbers and the calculation of like, is it serious? Like, is it serious enough? Which I know it sounds crazy because how you end up with like, unless I'm like literally dying, I'm not going to the hospital because it's gonna cost me like a lot of money. Which, you know, it shouldn't be like that. Obviously, like, but no, obviously, you know, like, oh, I have just a headache. Like, I'm not going I'm not going to a hospital because you have a headache. But I think, you know, a lot of Americans sadly like face this reality of like, you feel incredibly like you feel awful, but you're not going because it's like, yes, it's going to cost me money, and you know, I know my insurance doesn't cover it, or simply I don't really have the money, or you know, whatever. But it's like you're constantly doing like you're tallying the numbers as in like, can I afford this hospital visit? It's not just like I have to go to the hospital because I feel like I'm dying.
About an American student studying in the UK who experienced a medical crisis. When university staff moved to call an ambulance, this student panicked and begged them not to, all because they feared they couldn't afford it on their student budget. While continuing to dial 999, the staff had to explain that in the UK, ambulance services wouldn't come with a bill. What kind of system forces people to fear getting help during life-threatening situations? While critics often point out that the NHS isn't technically free since it's funded through taxation, this misses the crucial point. The system operates completely differently. No one checks tax records before providing surgery. No one is turned away because they can't afford care. Medical bankruptcy is virtually unheard of in the UK, yet it's frighteningly common in America. A 2019 study published in the American Journal of Public Health found that 66% of US bankruptcies were tied to medical issues, including both direct bills and time lost from work. How is this even normal in 2024? The second major difference involves university education, particularly in Scotland, where Scottish students attend public universities entirely free of charge. The Scottish government covers all tuition.
Is it just that? Because I'm thinking of like very specific, like Oxford or Cambridge. Like those aren't free, right? Am I being lied to? Is it free? Can you just go? Well, obviously you need to apply and actually get in. But is it free to like study there? That's crazy.
Costs through the Student Awards Agency for Scotland. That means eligible students pay exactly £0 in annual tuition fees. This arrangement differs even within the UK, as England charges up to £9,000 annually for university tuition. But comparing either system to America shows just how extreme the US approach has become. According to the College Board, average annual tuition at public four-year in-state universities in America reached $10,940. And that's
of course, but yes, like throughout the whole thing, that's how you end up with like between like 100,000 or something.
Considered the affordable option. Private institutions charge an average exceeding $39,400 per year. The result? American students typically graduate with around $30,000 in debt, creating a lifelong financial burden right as they're starting their careers.
Yeah, it seems crazy, but yes, you actually have to take into account this before you actually apply and you actually decide to go to college. And that's why I think maybe like in this day and age, I don't know if like it has changed in recent years, but I think a lot of people are just like, is it actually worth it to actually get into like this amount of debt? Like is my degree it's gonna afford me? Am I gonna be able to pay this loan with my degree later on in my life? Is it actually worth it? I think in most places you're just like, you want to go to college because you want to like study something, or you just want to you want to work on a specific sort of like area. And that's it, like, I'll do it, whatever. But then, well, not whatever, but it's like, I'll do it, and that's it. Those are, like, the only things that you have to take into account. But in the United States, it's different because just, like, am I going to be willing to actually get into debt for 20 years, 30 years after graduation? And is it gonna, like, it's my degree gonna allow me to get a good job enough that it's gonna allow me to pay, like, this bill and these loans that I'm taking? It's something that you actually have to take into account, because sometimes it's not even worth it. So it's like, why would I even go to college if I can't, you know, if in the future I'm not going to be able to actually, you know, pay back? And it's not really worth it. And that's why I think like maybe in recent years there's been like a shift and people are having probably, I don't know, they're going to colleges less because it's like, it's not even worth it at the end of the day. Maybe I'll just get another job, or again, it's just like, it's not worth it, or simply I don't really have the money, and you know, the loans are, you know, I'm not going to go bankrupt just because of like I want to go to college. That's crazy.
Let that sink in. Scotland views higher education as a public good worth investing in, while America treats it
It
as a
should.
personal financial commodity. A degree shouldn't come with a mortgage, yet that's exactly what millions of Americans face. The third
Yeah.
striking difference involves something as basic as banking services. In the United
What?
Kingdom, opening and maintaining a standard current account is typically free of charge. Major UK banks,
Really?
including Barclays, Lloyds, and HSBC, offer
They don't-
accounts with zero monthly maintenance fees. Customers
Really?
can set up direct debits, use debit cards, and access
And it's
ATMs
free?
throughout the country at no cost. These aren't
That's news to me because I thought the standard all over the world was for you. I think there's some exceptions, but I would think and I would expect the standard to be just sort of like, yes, you have to pay. It's obviously not a huge amount, but it's a percentage on either the money that you have on there, or because if you're taking money out of the ATM or you're using your card, of course you have to pay. You have to pay like a little amount. Of course, it's tiny, but it's like they'll charge you for it, and they don't charge you for that over there. I thought again that was standard worldwide.
hidden special offers or promotional deals. They're the standard banking arrangement available to everyone. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, most American banks impose monthly service fees.
Yeah, and do you need to have a minimum? I have so many questions about the other one. Do you need to have like a minimum? But the minimum amount like changes according to the bank, right? Like you need to have like this amount, this minimum amount, so we can maintain your account, or you can open this account.
On checking accounts, unless customers maintain minimum balances or set up qualifying direct deposits.
Yes.
According
Okay,
to Bank
but
Rate's
it's not like
2023
that either,
study,
okay.
the average monthly maintenance fee for a non-interest bearing account in the U.S. was $5.14, amounting to over $60 annually just to keep money in a bank.
Sounds insane. Yes, of course. If you're like looking at this, like the actual number, it's like I'm paying you to have my money there. That doesn't seem like I'm taking my money elsewhere. But it's like, no, that's just again the standard. So unless you want to like keep your money under a mattress, that's not, you have to pay, which is kind of crazy. Yes, of course. Like this shouldn't be like that. I'm paying you to keep my money.
Overdraft fees in America remain particularly steep, averaging around $30 per transaction. While some U.S. institutions have begun offering fee-free accounts, the industry-wide practice of charging people for basic banking services remains deeply entrenched. How is using your own money not free? It's like they tax Americans
It
just for
should be.
existing in the financial system. The UK approach clearly prioritizes financial inclusion and accessibility in ways the American system simply doesn't. The fourth
course.
major difference involves medication costs, with Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland offering completely free prescriptions to residents. These policies were introduced
Okay.
progressively. Wales in
And what about
2007,
England?
Northern Ireland in 2010, and Scotland in 2011, with the explicit goal of removing barriers to medication adherence and improving public health outcomes. Even in England, where prescriptions aren't entirely free,
Oh,
the
they're not
cost
free.
remains fixed at approximately £9 per item, with broad exemptions for children, elderly
does-
people, pregnant women, and those managing certain chronic conditions.
Oh,
The
wow.
situation couldn't be more different in America. Prescription costs in the U.S. are wildly variable and
Yes.
often astronomical. The Commonwealth
Correct.
Fund reported that in 2022, the United States had the highest per capita pharmaceutical spending worldwide, with the
Yeah, like
average person
insulin or
paying over
something.
$1,200 annually for prescription medications. The price of insulin has become particularly infamous. While
Yeah.
a vial costs about £25 in the United Kingdom, Americans might pay up to $300 for the exact same product. Just trying to stay alive shouldn't bankrupt you. But that's exactly what happens to many Americans
You
who
would
need
think.
ongoing medications. The UK system reflects a public health approach, prioritizing access to necessary treatments, while the American model remains market-driven with pharmaceutical companies wielding enormous influence over pricing. Cultural
Yes.
access represents the fifth area,
Do a lot of
where the
lobbying.
UK provides free resources that Americans typically pay for. Major national museums across the United Kingdom, including the British
They're
Museum,
free?
National Gallery, Natural History Museum, Museum of Scotland, and dozens more, offer free general admission to their permanent collections. While they may suggest donations or charge for special exhibitions, the core
Okay.
cultural treasures remain open to everyone regardless of economic status. Contrast this with America.
Is it just a few days in general? Do you have like a days that are free admission, or is it like no, you can go Monday to, well, and some days are closed, but some you can just go whatever. That's kind of like, I don't know, what if, I don't know. We think like, don't you want like tourists should pay, right? Like they're not paying for, maybe it's for residents. Maybe if you're a tourist, you need to pay a fee.
America's leading cultural institutions. The Museum of Modern Art in New York charges $25 admission.
Yeah.
The Field Museum in Chicago demands $30 per adult, and similar
Yes.
fees apply at most major museums
You have to pay.
nationwide. Some American museums occasionally offer free days, but these represent exceptions rather than the standard policy.
Okay,
Why should
that answers my
curiosity come with
question.
a cover charge? The UK approach recognizes cultural heritage as belonging to everyone, while America has largely commodified access to its artistic and historical collections. Putting
Yeah, I
a
hadn't
price
thought
on
of that.
history effectively creates knowledge gatekeeping based on economic
Yeah.
status. The sixth
They're like gatekeeping art, which shouldn't be like that.
and final difference involves access to nature through national parks. The United Kingdom's 15 national parks, including the Lake District and Snowdonia, remain open to the public completely free of charge. While visitors might encounter parking or specific facility fees, there's no general admission charge whatsoever. People can
Yeah.
simply enter and enjoy these protected natural landscapes. This policy fundamentally reflects the belief that nature should remain freely accessible to everyone, regardless of economic status. The United States boasts an undeniably magnificent national park system, but access typically comes with significant costs. As of 2024, entrance to iconic parks like Yosemite, Yellowstone, and Grand Canyon cost approximately $35 per vehicle. Visitors can
Yeah.
purchase an America the Beautiful annual pass for $80, but even this represents
Oh,
a
I didn't know
financial
that.
barrier for many families. While these
course.
funds contribute to maintenance and preservation efforts, the fees inevitably discourage frequent visits, particularly for lower-income households.
Obviously.
Additionally, privatized concessions within U.S. parks often result in inflated prices for food, lodging, and guided tours, whereas the UK generally maintains a more open, less commercialized
That's very
approach to
pretty.
its natural spaces. When did seeing a mountain become a luxury? The contrast between these systems reveals fundamentally different philosophies about who should have
It's true.
access to natural heritage. These 6 examples highlight dramatically different approaches to essential services between the United Kingdom and United States. While both nations face their own challenges, the UK consistently prioritizes universal access to healthcare, education,
access.
banking, medication, culture, and nature without direct payment barriers. The American system, by contrast, treats these as primarily individual responsibilities or market opportunities. What does this say about national
market
priorities and
opportunities.
values? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Your experiences might help someone else make the right decision.
Yes, it's. I hadn't actually like thought of the implications of this, but it's true. This has opened my eyes. There's like so many things that I didn't actually know they weren't actually free. I thought the actual sort of like the standard, the basics is for you to like for you to like be charged. So it is kind of like, yes, not in all places is like that, especially the UK. I think my number one question about this, it's like, especially like for museums and parks, I get that they have to like give you, like they ask for your money because it's like, how are we maintaining this? I think it makes sense for you to actually have to pay a fee because it's, again, how are we going to afford, we have to maintain this, and it's for like the proper common good. But and that was always my way of thinking, right? It's like, yes, of course, they have to maintain this, like especially like national parks and museums, like it takes a lot of money. But thinking about this and watching the video, I'm like, well, yeah, but the UK doesn't. So it's like, great point. But I know that some countries, actually, some of them are free. Some national parks are free. Others you actually have to pay a fee. I think it just depends on I don't know if it depends on the country or it depends on the national park. But, because I've been in places where the national parks are free, and I've been in places where you actually have to pay, and the museums just as well. I think the standard is for you to actually pay, but there are some museums that, again, offer like days that are free, or some others that are actually free, but you actually have to like ask, hey, is it free or do you charge? But, it just depends on the museum, and I think it just depends on like sort of like who maintains this, like who does the museum ultimately belongs to. National parks obviously belong to like the government, well, the country, but the museums are a separate thing. So I think it just depends on different factors. But thinking about this is like, okay, so in the UK it doesn't. So my logic of like they need money to maintain this is like, well, but the UK doesn't charge anything. So it's like, okay, so I think it just like the national like budget, they just like they allotted amount. It's more like they maintain this, and there's already an allotted amount that they sort of like do. It's gonna be reserved for national parks, for maintenance, and for like museums, because again they believe that everything should be free, and everyone has the access, and it's a thing about like accessibility, which I love. But it's like, so the US, you're telling me the US doesn't have doesn't have the budget to actually get rid of this and be like, no, we're gonna pay it ourselves, as in ourselves, as in like the government and our budget. So it makes it's sad because they should, obviously, it should come from them. It should come from the government and from the national budget. They should have, they should just give more money to parks, and they should give more money to museums. And obviously, I think that can change. I'm pretty sure, like, you can just vote, and you have to, like, let's say, like, vote where your money is. But I think, again, it's like you can talk to, like, your representative, or you can vote yes, and, like, I don't know, or just talk to your senator or something. But those things I think can change, and I would love it if it changed in the future. But I think the change has to come from, like, within, and from the actual population that actually wants to make a reform. And I don't know if that's possible, because either people just don't know and they're blinded, like I just opened my eyes, or maybe they feel like they don't feel the same thing. They're like, no, I actually like paying because I feel like it's good that I'm maintaining this. Although, again, in the same sense, it's like, I don't know, why would you still want to like pay money for this? You're already paying through taxes, and you're already paying, like, the country itself. Like, if you're a resident, and if you live there, or if you have, like, your citizenship or something, like, you're already, like, it's coming from there, like, from your resources, and from that country's, like, resources. They should pay, because, again, it's like this all belongs to, like, basically to ourselves, because we live there, or because we were born there. So it should belong to us. Natural resources is like, well, no, I think that you can get into, like, the specifics, but the actual, the general thought is that is like, it belongs to us, and we should definitely enjoy it. It's like they said, like, mountains, like, should be free to actually look at. Like, I shouldn't pay to see a mountain, which is like, well, yes, I hadn't thought of this, but again, this video opened my eyes to think of, like, yes, actually, you shouldn't pay for those kind of things. Because, again, my logic is like, well, you need money. Like, things need money in order to be maintained. But yes, of course, like, they're countries, like, those sort of countries, they're rich enough to actually, like, pay them. So maybe, like, take money out of, like, other budgets and other areas and put more money into these things, which I think obviously the US does not do. They prioritize, like, military spending, and I don't know, like, weapons, stuff like that, or maybe, like, national security, which I think is important. But I think maybe they should, like, take the money from there, and also give more money to this sort of, like, maybe it's seen as less important. And I think that is all what boils down to. If you tell people and you ask people, hey, do you want to spend, like, less in weapons, or just like weapons, for instance, or the military, and put, like, some of that money, you can put this money into, like, arts, which museums are art, or national parks. And probably a lot of people are going to be like, no, absolutely not. Like, we need the money. Like, that money should definitely be, because, it's American, wars and stuff. But it's like, I don't think, that should change. And I think it comes from, like, from people's, like, mindset, that most people will tell you, like, no, absolutely not. But it's like, no, this is important as well. Though I think that is, again, that's it all boils down to. People think just, like, national parks and access to nature and to art are just seen as less important in general, as in, like, something, again, like, security, which, I think they should, it's not like one's more important than the other, but they should definitely put more money into that. I think that's my takeaway from all of this. And yes, I'm gonna have to think about long and hard of, like, especially, like, the banking thing as well. It's like, you make a good point. Why are you spending money in order for them to keep your money? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Which, again, I didn't know the UK did things differently, and very eye-opening. Yeah, this video was definitely that. But that was it for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.